noise around. As I told you, I was in a work setting, and sometimes it's very impossible to just tell people to, keep quiet around where you're doing whatever you're doing, because maybe they don't understand the beauty of what you're doing and all that. However, I hope that I was clear enough and you got me. And now I want to do the JSS stuff from the story Bridges Without Rivers, Where is Liwan? Now let's get to the discussion of stylistic devices in this story. I saw some of you asking for it. Sometimes when I project the notes, they do not come up very clearly, but of late I've learned that in the live streams it's possible to have the notes coming very clearly, and sometimes when I do the videos I know what to do. So forgive me for the past maybe videos that were not very clear. However, I believe currently these ones will be clearer ongoing. I can also advise you to order for the books, because the books I have contain very good notes and detail. Of course, with copyright, you cannot share all the notes at once. This is some work that somebody has invested in time and money, and therefore it becomes very difficult to share everything with the public. You just share bits and bits. Yeah, so let's go to the styles and language used in this story. And of course, the first one will be the style known as contrast or juxtaposition. So checking on page 50, you'll see that we had Lesho, who was more active. When you look at the brother, Liwan, Liwan was not that active, he was a bit passive. We also see that Lesho was a very steady young man, blessed with strength and courage. When you compare him to the brother, Liwan, Liwan was a bit slower. And that one you can check on page 50. Now, I want you to also contrast the time that the two twins went together to take care of cattle, and when one of them did. So the time when they went, all of them, it was very safe for them. They felt protective. And even when they saw the funny creature, they just ran away. However, when one comes here alone, that is when one of the twins remains alone, he is very unsafe and is attacked. Now let's go to the second style, and that's onomatopoeia. In this story, I didn't see a lot of onomatopoeia cases, but there was one known as quacking, page 55. Simile is another style that has been shown in this story. Looking at page 58, this is the simile you'll find. Gradually, like the sprouting of a seedling. You will also get another simile, similar to a large prey. And again, they have used another simile. It had what wide wings. Now on another style is rhetorical questions. I hope you understand rhetorical questions are those questions asked maybe and you don't expect a response from it. Now when you look at this story, page 54, Lesho asks himself, what could have happened to Liwan? How come all the animals are home? Did Liwan encounter a dangerous predator in the bush on his way home? What predator would only be interested in his brother and not cows? Another rhetorical question also comes on page 54. Liwan's mother asks, Liwan, my son, where are you? Yeah? Now the other style is suspense. Suspense. The story ends in suspense. We do not know what had happened to this boy, what had happened to Liwan when he went to look after the cattle. We just know that he disappeared and he emerged at one of the places, but we are not told where exactly he was. There's also mystery behind the creature that appears in the lake. We do not know what kind of creature it is. Then the other style is dialogue. So dialogue comes in, Oleketeko asks what had happened to Liwan and how they had found him, the father. Now the fishermen say that they had just found him at Mate on a small in the middle of the lake. Now since he was confused, they could not even get to understand what he was saying because they had searched for him all over. Between page 51 and 52, we get to see a dialogue between Liwan and Lesho. They are talking about this creature that they had seen and think that it is the Mzitu that their grandmother had been talking about. However, they wonder why it had to appear at daytime because according to their grandmother, it should appear at night. Another dialogue comes a day later. Lesho and Liwan bid farewell, hoping to meet again later in the evening. Yeah, and of course we see that the brother is telling the twin to be very cautious at the beach, or rather at the lake, so that something does not affect him. The other style is monologue. Monologue on page 54. We see Liwan's mother asking, Liwan, my son, where are you? You know, the last style is the stream of conscience. I've told you this is whereby a character talks about what they think, yeah, premeditating. And it happens on page 54. Lesho wonders what had happened to Liwan. How comes that animals are at home? Did Liwan encounter a predator in the bush that had to attack him and not the cows? Now I'll give you an assignment at the end of the day. So let me read to you an assignment and then I'll turn the camera so that I show you the questions. Now my question will be an excerpt kind of. At midday, when the sun shone bright on the waters of the lake, the air became humid. The boys knew that soon the cows would be thirsty. At the appointed hour, they would be coming down to water at the usual watering point at the lake. Lesho stood up from his sitting position, jolted by something he had seen. He shoved his brother by the elbow and pointed at the center of the lake. Do you see that? What is that in the water? He asked. There is something big in there, Liwan said, standing. He looked intently at what his brother was pointing at to him. At first, I had thought that it was water wave, but clearly it is not, Lesho added. So my question is, what exactly did the boys see? 2 marks. Identify and explain any style in the excerpt. What are the character traits of the boys based on the excerpt? Now the second question I'll ask is this. Again, it's an excerpt kind of question. He tried to drive the animals towards Lariak Springs. The cows did not move. They spread out instead, leaving Liwan confused and helpless. There were too many cows for Liwan to manage. He wished his brother Lesho was around to help him. Unable to control the numerous cows, he simply followed them towards their usual watering points at the lake. It was getting dark, and Liwan had not yet appeared. The animals had found their way home. At first, Lesho and his father had given little thought as to when he would arrive. However, it was now hours since the cows arrived, yet Liwan was not still at home. The elders were notified about his absence, and immediately a search party was launched. They started by following the path the cows had used to come home. My questions are, why had Liwan gone alone to look after the cattle? That is 2 marks. The next question, share 3 practices and the way of life of this society from what is shared in the excerpt. Then the last question, what does the word notified mean? So I'm going to turn the camera so that you see the notes, just in case you want to refer. However, as I've told you, there is a complete book with analysis of all the grade 7 and 8 stories, and then there's a different one for grade 9. So in case you are interested, please just make an order, because I may not be able to share everything online. Again, it will be defiling my copyright aspect, because I've worked for it. So I'll just share a little here, and if you're interested, you can inbox me, then I'll get the books to you. Thank you for being a good audience. Let me turn the camera and show you the notes. So I hope you can clearly see the notes there, from contrast, juxtaposition, onomatopoeia, simile, rhetorical questions, suspense, dialogue, monologue, stream of conscience, and finally the activities. Of course, I targeted question 7 and 8 here. Question 7 is here, and question 8. Yeah, so guys, if you've got that, let's meet again in the last story another time, and I'll be going to Becca's misfortune maybe by Saturday. Thank you.